personal journey of the sonographer navigating the virtual world as an alterverse or outer space in a hookup culture. It is argued that the personal space of an alter account can be an alternative space for a site specific performance. Without further ado, let us give the floor to Sir Carlo Villaferte Pagonali.
Thank you, Essie, and good afternoon, good evening to everyone. I will share my screen. Okay, so before I start, I would like to share my experience about this project. This project is close to me because I experienced the site-specific of a outer world, no? As an audience, and of course, and sometimes as a participant. Later, I will discuss what is the relationship between the spectator and the performer in an outer world. My framework for this afternoon, first I will discuss what is site-specific, second, alter and the outer world, and third, alter ego and the virtual site-specific in the outer world, my personal experience. According to Gay McAuley, given the centrality of space in the performance experience, it is perhaps somewhat surprising to find that critics do not have a precise widely shared vocabulary to enable them to name and talk about the multiple dimensions of the way space functions in performance. So, performance space is not only in four sides of a theater building. You can find performance space in different aspects, in different found space. But in the time of pandemic, I discovered that a performance space can be found in a virtual world. For example, in a personal space of an outer world. Regarding site-specific, according to the readings of performing site-specific theater, politics, plays, and practice, this site-specific theory has been a hugely influential feature of the spatial turn in performance studies, working both to analyze the ways in which the location of a performance alters its content and reception, and to draw attention to the practitioners for whom sight is a fundamental concern. Right now, in the situation of the outer world, both parties have the responsibility in sharing their space. Well, of course, the performer in the outer world, he welcomes his audience or participants to see his own space. His private space became a public space because he's sharing it to everyone who have the account or the password or password to his Zoom or maybe to his personal space in virtual world. And then if the audience or if the participant allow himself to open his account, this another door or another space of performance. So in this project, there are a lot of performance space, but my focus here is the space of Felix Bacat, the main performance space, and then there are selected 5 spaces from his participants. Okay, to make this topic elaborate, alter is a pseudonym or second account used to express oneself in more discreet way. In an outer world, there are a lot of people hiding their true identity. Some of them wearing masks, or some of them they do not have a clear face, or they change their name. Or we can compare it into playing as a new character. Or sometimes they change their alter account. It depends on the situation, event, or other gatherings. Okay, I want to share to you right now the journey of my production, The Alter Ego with Aldo Venceslao. You can see a space. This is a space at their third floor where there's a big window at the back and then small table and chair. So this blank space, I used it as a set and the background of Aldo, or the character name is Felix Bacat. So it's important. This is important for me to check the measurement. Well, it's hard, no, to check the distance between the camera and the space because I need to know how far is the acting space of Aldo, and I want to make sure also to see as an audience, no. I'm a director and a writer here in this project, but I'm also an audience. So I always think what is the basic reaction of the audience when they will watch this performance. So and I also compare my experience when I'm watching the other altar performances. So I always telling Aldo to have a connection in the camera because the camera will connect the two virtual world, the space of the participant and the space of the performer. This is another part of his house at the other side. Okay, let's go back to his space. This space, I requested Aldo to make a decoration and put some lights, no, to change the look of the room, no, to make another flavor for the participants and of course for the audience. I will show to you a video clip of our rehearsal.
Okay, fading in, poster, this explanation about the live performance, fading out, zoom.
Okay, so at this part, I asked Aldo to let's explore the camera. Okay, because the camera here, this is the another way to see the different highlight of the spaces inside his house. At this point, we discovered that the strongest part of his house is at this side because there's enough space between the wall and between the camera, and there's a concept of perspective. The top of the window, it stands as a vanishing point of the perspective view. And then you will see in this camera, in this view, there is a projection, no? From the window going to the camera. It's an illusion that making the space wider.
Sorry.
Okay, another form of another character of Aldo or Felix Bacat is using the puppet named Big Bird. Big Bird is part of the outer world and part of the virtual site specific because Big Bird is one of the props and at the same time another alter ego of Felix Bacat. So he's showing his character through this puppet.
Kailangan kitang alisin dahil ang tagal ka nang hindi nakakapag-ito.
Okay, at this part, Well, he's showing his dance move to the audience. So you will see the distance. If he's going near to the camera, you will see the details, and at the same time, you feel the distance of performance space near the audience. No? There is intimate what we call this, intimate performance. But here, we see there's a wall, no? There is a lens because we see them in the camera or in a video, but we cannot touch them because of the camera lens. So there's a boundary between the audience and the performer.
Poppers! Also, what room, ha? Enjoy, mommy! Oh, nakalagay sa second challenge ay...
At this part, later I will show you the effect of this camera phone. So he used the camera to have a focus on his body. So another venue to see the what do you call this? To see the each part of his body as the new performance space.
Magsipit sa ut... Oh,
'Yun.
10 a.m. Tapos
Okay. I want to show you another component of my monovlog. Under the frame of Felix Bacat, there are 5 participants. These 5 participants is 4 of them, they open their camera, and the one is hiding from his photo. So the 4 participants is showing their own room. It is another way of showing their virtual site specific. So the other audience, they see different performance space and they experience different performances. I will share my video.
ang mga malamig ng gabi ay mapapawi ng init na ipaparamdam ni Felix Bacat _3.0. Kaya, bago tayo mag-umpisa, attendance check muna! Yung mga hindi pa nakapagpabayad dyan sa GCash, teka naman! Bayad-bayad din pag may time, ano? Kung hindi masisipa kayo sa Zoom, I'm sorry, jutes are marlight, ha? Kailangan kitang alisin dahil sa tagal mo nang hindi nakakapagbayad sa mga pinapadalang dick pic ni Felix. I'm sorry din, Marites 2.0, kinalaki ng outer world na Makati ang dila. Baka isuplong mo pa kami sa inang ukulan. Goodbye! Ayan!
Okay, like what I said earlier, at this part, there is a communication between the performer and the audience. They have their different spaces, but in terms of the objective of the performance, they have the common factor. And this is an outer space, a virtual site-specific outer space.
Ilang segundo mag-uumpisa na ang ating palabas para lang po na ang pag-unmute o pagbukas ng camera ay hindi naman ipinagbabawas sa tanghal na ito. Pero mas maganda kung naka-mute dahil diba? Ayan! Nakuha mo na! Pak! O bago tayo magsimula, ako muna ay tutulak.
Okay, I will end my presentation there. Thank you. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Sir Carlo Pagonaling, for that very interesting insights to your study. Right? So now let us move on to our next presenter. Okay? So if you have questions, don't worry, we have an open forum later. Right? Okay. So for a second presenter, he is a full-time faculty at the Languages and Literature Department of De La Salle University, Dasmariñas, Cavite. He has been teaching English and literature subjects at DLSUD for more than a decade. He also teaches speech and stage arts as a major subject in the College of Education and virtual stage arts as an elective subject in the senior high school. He is also a PhD in Philippine Studies candidate at the Tri-College Program of Asian Center in UP Diliman. He hopes to finish his dissertation research the school year 2021 to 2022. He will be talking about his paper titled Men at Play, Staging Filipino Masculinity in Time of COVID. Let us welcome Mr. Mark Ignacio. Hi, Sir Mark.
Good
So his
afternoon.
study involves, good afternoon. So his study involves an analysis and philosophy of stage enactments and its connection to 21st century gender examinations. Its exploration of modern masculinities in Philippine theater focuses on the plays featured on selected plays from Virgin Lab Fest 2020, wherein this festival's pursuit to exhibit unstaged plays were realized in digitized format. This study aims to understand the nature of modern men and to nuance common misconceptions about men. As multidisciplinary Philippine studies research, it assumes that the selected plays are embedded with local consciousness when creating these male characters in this time of change. In examining the language used to describe the subject, Hall's theory of representation was utilized, and it also presupposes that gender is progressive, active, and transitory. Hence, finds Judith Butler's fluid perspective of gender in her performative theory most suitable. As a performance study, it incorporates Pavis's materiality of the performance that concretizes all abstract ideas and fixed signs of representation. And since these performances are mediatized, it includes intermediality in theater and performance as it creatively creates different understandings of reality. Once again, let us welcome Sir Mark Ignacio.
Hello, good afternoon to everyone, and I would like to thank everybody for the opportunity, all the people behind this conference, for giving me a spot in this on the third day of the conference. And especially, I would like to thank Dr. Andril Piatco for the trust and the motivation to keep on going, because this paper is already a long time due, but because of his advice uh, and everything that was shared in his class, I'm still here, fighting that I would able to finish my paper in this school year. So thank you so much, sir. And I prepared a recorded video presentation, so just to avoid some technical glitches. So could somebody please play the presentation? Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Mark Ignacio, and my research proposal is entitled Men at Play, Staging Filipino Masculinity in Time of COVID. The veracity that masculinity is not problematic, given the virile nature, distinctiveness, more so the culturally constructed identity wherein men are likely to suit themselves, gave humanity some glimpses of truths and realization. Mongen, in his book Staging Masculinity, reiterates that masculinity is not unproblematic, given a male biological identity, so much as the cultural construct. to which the individual is expected to fit in. According to Ano, most societies base their investigations about men on patriarchal ideology, with its stereotypical nature giving them conspicuous reasons that there is nothing more to explore in men. Contrary, the crisis in masculinity during the 80s brought a lot of changes in the way society thinks about men and question if they are men enough. On the other hand, women's studies through the years in its pursuit for gender equality had proven that being a woman in the modern world is not confined to a monolithic idea alone. And as women triumph over in various fields through the increasing number of feminist studies, a dim light shines upon studies on masculinity. History tells us that men are warriors, leaders, creators, heroes, theories, and more. They are strong willed, spirited, and brave. However, men's aggressiveness, dominance, and power are also threatened by defeat, frustration, brokenness, and more seriously, depression. In a colossal context, numerous events in a man's life situate his masculinity in crisis, creating a skepticism on how he deals with his self identity and with other identities surrounding him. Men are challenged to retain possession of their socially constructed roles of providers, leaders, protectors, sexual athletes, not only to women but also to other men. These quandaries made the social construction of the male species during the 21st century even more complicated because of its fluid nature and continuous transformation. Men's sociocultural status is intimidated by these changes in perceptions, expectation, and practices that need attention and explanation. These are just some of the endless developments in the images of men that this study aims to explore and evaluate. Philippine culture, even up to now, is still described as conservative, especially when it comes to matter about gender, making Filipino perspective on gender issues more patriarchal since it anchored its definition of Filipino masculinity to heterosexuality. It is often predicted that there is nothing more to it. Heterosexual, straight, and patriarchal characteristics are commonly associated with the stereotypical males as head of the family, breadwinner, dominant, authoritative, and other similar traits that need no elaboration because of their stereotypical nature. However, society through time is continuously changing, including people's thoughts, beliefs, and practices. Even the most predictable turns out to be flabbergasting, and gender is no exemption. Gender is no longer confined in its traditional norms, less may be argued on its philosophies. Nonetheless, the fact that it is a progressive culture that constructs gender. An in depth examination is proposed to be conducted. A considerable number of gender research failed to observe men's problematic state. It has overlooked the innumerable idiosyncrasies that have changed the state of the 21st century Filipino men that demand scrutiny. According to Cañete, gone are the amorphous bodies draped in flat, nondescript clothing of previous generation. They were replaced by designer outfit and polished faces. The bad boy street tough cowboy has been replaced in the new generation millennium by a working professional class, young male with a complex psychological, sexual, and social status and imbued with a softer and more considered attitude among both women and gays. The new macho is the metrosexual, characterized by a diverse range of talents in singing, dancing, cooking, and maintaining a household through his income. Not all men these days play as a breadwinner in the family. Many turn out to be house husbands because of their larger opportunities that open for women to work abroad. Even the sexual relationship of a straight man as the top male, with both straight women and a gay man as bottoms receivers, is perceived differently as not a
compromise of his machismo or straightness, but instead identify him as both heterosexual and bisexual. Men are subjected to convoluted image shifts and twists involving their physical appearance, behavior, thoughts, and emotions, transforming during this time of change. This paper aims to free men from the boundaries set by outmoded mentality and perspective of masculinity. From the stereotypical representation, this study aims to examine men's transformation into their contemporary images. For emphasis, this study focuses on modern Filipino men who operate in a very ever changing environment, men who are adaptive to their everyday situation that disqualify them to be stale. At this part, I would like to give attention to Ricky Lee's comment on Penis Talk when he was interviewed by Philippine Star during the very controversial staging of Penis Talk in the country. Authored by Ernest Thompson and translated in Filipino. He mentioned, para siyang a form of everything that you've always wanted to say about the penis, but were not able to. Kumbaga, letting the penis out of the open for its imperfect and flawed glory. Para malaman natin na pag uwi natin, there are other penises out there. At hindi lang na ang penis ay di lang yung stereotype image na oppressor o kaya ay gift of God sa mga kababaihan at bakla, kundi isa rin siyang sensitive at compassionate being, capable of being hurt, being confused, needing closure, and in the end, ay even being able to talk. It can be inferred that the writer desires to disclose pertinent matters about the male species. He wants the world to see them not as stereotypes or in as socially constructed images. He expressed high hopes of men being freed from these boundaries that set parameters in the way they should be perceived in these changing times. Like all others, men experience fears and pains, and who are weakened by circumstances, who may be subjected to different forms of abuse, and most importantly, who long desired to be heard. In the pages of literature, we see men in varying images associated with bravery, leadership, courage, and heroism. However, men are also represented as images of oppression, violence, aggression, and sexual abuse. There are episodes in men's life that destroy the healthy balance of their physical strength and stability of their emotions that were once protection of women, the elderly, the children, during their early civilization. Such impressions push the researcher to seek clearer views of masculinity to help men regain their confidence, be honest with themselves, and build a character of sensitivity towards others. Other than gender, this study also focuses on 21st century Philippine literature, particularly drama, which is believed as the mirror of life, a reflection or representation of the world and human life with truth as the key formula. The drama shows life's reality, if not at least as closer as it could get. Drama is indeed one of the most effective means of staging human nature and experiences that reflect people's individuality. Studies on gender, especially masculinity, using play is not popular in Philippine research compared with novels and short stories. Hence, the researcher proposes an in-depth inspection of Filipino masculinity representation in modern Philippine drama. To begin this exploration on modern masculinities in Philippine theater and to make the study more relevant and timelier, the researcher intends to focus on the plays featured in the Virgin Lab Fest. He believed that it is most appropriate not only in terms of production values but also because on issues on gender. Every year, the festival has launched the newest, never been staged plays that present Filipino culture and psyche in various aspects of life, and that includes gender. The researcher would like to study masculine representations in the play exhibited during the 2020 festival with the theme Kapit, as it firmly holds on to its commitment in showcasing unstaged Filipino plays. The researcher strongly believes that this festival showcases present-day representation of male masculinities, and since it was conducted online under the new normal, digital media that might have affected these representations will be subjected as important variables of the research. This study aims to understand the nature of modern men and create social awareness that assume that not problematic men is indeed erroneous. Finally, to give insight to help create programs and policies that hopefully would re-examine the welfare of men and all humans in the 21st century. This research will investigate how this aspects of the male gender were utilized in terms of power relations involving their emotional, psychological, economic, sexual, social, cultural status with the general research question, what is Filipino masculinity in the 21st century? Specifically, it aims to answer the following. What are the images of the male characters in the selected plays? What representations were used to show these images? And how these images define masculinity of modern Filipino men? As a Philippine Studies dissertation paper, the researcher believes that it is appropriate that a local perspective, Psikologiyang Filipino, be used in scrutinizing the images used in representing the male characters in selected plays. Psikologiyang Filipino is related to the Filipino psyche since it is formed by everyday experiences that create a distinct Filipino culture and mentality. To examine the language text of selected plays, the researchers will utilize the theory of representation by Hall. His theory points out that representation produces meaning through the use of language. First, to describe and to be perceived by the human senses. And secondly, to symbolizes. The representation used in using words, object, color, sound to give meaning to a concept. To symbolize, according to Hall, is to use the familiar to produce meaning. As a gender study, specifically Filipino masculinity, this paper will employ Butler's performative theory that argues the biological and the stereotypical concept of gender, that biology is destiny. Butler's theory posits that gender is a continuous repetition of performative acts that practice gender through voluntary. However, it is still based on the symbolic order. This paper presupposes that gender is progressive, active, and transitory. Butler's fluid perspective of gender suits these assumptions, hence recognizing her theory immensely suitable. As a performance study, the researcher intends to make use of Pavis materiality of the performance that concretizes all abstract ideas and fixed signs of representation, and that organizes the space-time action in vectorization. Moreover, for the fact that these performances are mediatized, this research will incorporate intermediality in theater and performance as it creatively creates different understanding of life realities. In closing, men's traditional characters that govern the world for the past centuries are the same traits that brought the crisis in men. Women stood up and earned their places. Unexpectedly, men lost sovereign power and were threatened by the reversal of roles amongst women in the world of production and decision making, at work, and even in the premises of their own homes. This series of events brought the more liberal world views of gender and sexuality. This change is permanent, and it calls for a timely description of masculinity, more appropriate during this changing time, not to reclaim the power brought by the traditional gender concept to go against each other or to compete with women and other genders, but more than anything else, to understand the nature of today's men in shaping humankind in general. Findings in this study may serve as basis in creating gender and development programs and policies and in selecting topics, designing courses in gender. Thank you for your time and good afternoon.
Thank you for your time to listen to my presentation, and I would like to apologize for the rawness of the details presented, because this paper have gone through a lot of changes already, because this was conceptualized some years before ago already, and originally it's going to be a text-based analysis only, analyzing the scripts of the play from the anthology of the Virgin Love Fest. But since a lot of delay happened because of so many reasons, and pandemic came in, so and it's also I've looked at it as an opportunity also that there was a copied version of the Virgin Love Fest that I was able to look into, and the paper from the text based analysis turned out to be something like this, no, mediated through a lot of materials that could be used for the study. So with that, thank you again, and I hope that would help a good exchanges later during the Q&A. Thank you so much.
Thank you, so much, Sir Mark. Okay, so again, we would like to remind everyone that you can pin our monitor screen 3. So just make sure you click on the 3 dots on the monitor screen 3 beside the mute, so that you can pin it on your screen. Because so far for panels, I think for breakout rooms, we cannot really pin like a specific screen. So you don't forget to do that, so that it's also easier for everyone, right? So thank you, Sir Carlos, Sir Mark. So now let us move on to our open forum. So we now have the floor for questions and insights from the audience. So you can raise your hand and you can speak, okay? Or you feel free to type a question on the chat box. Just make sure that you also include your affiliation so that I can read it for you also. Right? I think there's already a question here, right, by Ma'am Tapi Gupta. Right? So, is this anything especially Filipino? I think gender concerns are part of a global culture. And is gender perception particular or Filipino urban space only? What about the rural district? I think this is for Sir Mark.
Thank you for the question. I think that's also one thing that I need to find out, because most of the available resources are coming from the West. If not, they are coming from a very particular group in the urban area, like metrosexual, and because of a lot of shifts in gender roles are also happening in the urban setting. So I think also it's one thing that I need to clear out in the study, and really find this find the question in the study. So I hope that the selected place that will be included in this study will reveal that, because I think not only gender, no, I think yung Filipino identity in general is really is really difficult to define, kasi ang dami ng elements that came in. So it's really hard to identify what is distinct Filipino, no, even among us, no, even among us here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sir Mark. And maybe I guess I can also add in a question to Sir Mark in relation to Ma'am Tapati Gupta's question. So do you think that masculinity as an ideology in itself is a gender binary? I mean, I know that despite our goals to question this binary. Most people think that when we say masculinity, it's often seen in relation to biological males. But what about other manifestations of masculinity? For example, trans men, for example, right? So how they manifest this masculinity. So do you think that this masculinity as an ideology in itself, is it like for you, like, does it also manifest the gender binary that we currently have in our society?
Yes, I'm really anticipating that these things will definitely come out as I dig into to the science and of the study of because what I'm looking into are video recordings of this place that were featured during the Capit 2020 Vision Love Fest. So yes, oh, that is really going to be part of the study. Like what I've mentioned in the presentation, gender is really kind of fluid. We cannot really we cannot really
Yes.
set parameters on it, and sometimes gender some gender masculinity and other genders that coexist, okay, sometimes are they are being played and manifest at a certain point in time, no, a certain space, no, sometimes we play different personality, different gender. Whenever it depends where we are. It depends on what time that we are in, and it would depend also on who we are with. So it's really kind of complicated, and as of now, as I look into the questions that I've encountered during my writing and my research, and even right now, there's a lot of things going on in my head, and my worry is that how am I able to answer all the questions, because I'm looking into a topic that is very very complicated into its highest sense. So good luck to me.
Yes, but I'm sure you can do it, Sir Mark. Yeah, gender is very, very complex. All right. So, while we're still waiting for other questions, I think I could also ask a question to Sir Carlo. But then again, to our participants, those who would like to ask a question, feel free to chat them, and then I can read them for you, or you can just raise your hand and you can answer. You can ask your questions yourselves. Right. So, Sir Carlo, your topic is very interesting because I know that especially for the young generation, this alter culture is a very, very rampant. Not if not to sell desires, even just for their own, for their own reflection of their identity, right? So, what do you think is the impact of alter culture, this culture, to the entire performance of gender? Since you also mentioned earlier that this alter identity are identities that we do not wish to be publicly seen, right? Ergo the alter ego, or right. So what do you think are the positive and negative implications of having such an alter culture, especially for I know that there are some students here also from Gen Z, and so what do you think are the positive and negative implications of this alter culture?
Well, actually, I'm new in the outer world, right? I have an account, but I'm not too active. I attended two outer performances, no. Well, actually, in the time of pandemic, the in an outer community, you can share, no, different what do you call this, secrets, or your personal view, but not what do you call this, but not exposing yourself, no, your true identity. Okay. The bad side of it is sometimes you do not know the person you're talking about. Okay. So there's an issue about the security, and then of course sometimes you do not know if this is if you're talking to this another other account, if he's recording your if he or she recording your conversation, especially the what do they call this, the interaction, no, video interaction, for example, by doing some body movement or showing their body. So it's complicated, no? So well, it's up to the to the person who have an alter account, no, on how he uh, or how he handled the situation, no. Actually, I'm happy about the topic of Mr. Ignacio, no, and regarding to your question regarding the binary, no, in the outer world there is no binary, okay. Everyone is free. Outer world is a paradise, okay. You can express who you are, but you're wearing another face, okay, or you're hiding yourself, but you can express it through the body language and body as a form of scenography, scenic, okay. Why I'm saying that? Because through the camera, they showing their body as another performance space through their movement through their hands, no. They're creating a story between the camera, no. And one interesting experience that I attended, no, after the performance of the show, the other participants turn on their cameras, and then they have their conversation that's showing their thing, and then they doing some activities, and then with the soundscape, no, and at the same time with the voice. It's another performance, layering of performance. So it's interesting. It's interesting to observe an outer world activity.
All right. Thank you, Sir Carlo. So maybe I can ask another question in relation to that also, right? Since you mentioned that it is a performance in a certain site-specific landscape, right? A scenography, right? So do you think that there is a difference or there will be an impact between and among the mode of communication utilized or used? Because like, for example, here, it was Zoom, right? That was used, but then there are a lot of other alter websites available and even OnlyFans, I think, right? So it's one of the popular ones nowadays. So do you think that it will impact the performance of this of their sexuality and their gender in this alter culture based on what they use, the mode that they are using?
Well, right now everything is faster, no, easy access. You can see what they have. You can see their birthmark or what other things that they hiding, no. Actually, the outer world is another form or way of communicating by showing other things that they do not what I mean, showing the other things that they do not show to the public. Okay, so in that sense, the performance is well. I would like to use the concept of nothing or buhol-buhol, no. There is a chain in the outer community. So if the other camera open it, the other one will open it, and then there will be a group presentation, no, or maybe a group performance in different style.
All right. Thank you, Sir Carlo. I s- Again, for our participants, those who are here, do not forget that you can also ask questions. You can raise your hand or you can chat your question. Just make sure that you also include your affiliation. All right. So maybe I can ask a question for Sir Mark now. Okay. So, what do you think is the future of heteronormative gender binaries in Philippine society? I mean, you gave, um, you mentioned changes that have been observed throughout time up to the present, from the macho culture to the metrosexual culture? What do you think is next?
Hello. I think that's what I need to find out because, like what I've said, that the only thing that is permanent is change, and gender, for one thing, is not an exemption. And as I look into how masculinity in the country progresses, it is often affected by a lot of factors that brought a lot of changes also, and we could not really set, what would, and honestly I could not really predict now what would be the future of Filipino masculinity or gender in general in the country. But we could only define it at a certain time, at a certain space, or most likely trim it down to a particular group of individuals, but to really give a broader definition and concept that would really define gender, and to really foresee what would be masculinity, Filipino masculinity in the future. It's really difficult. I hope that this could somehow be preempted in my study, but one thing is for sure, it would not really define it completely. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Mark. All right. So maybe I can ask a question to both Sir Carlo and Sir Mark. So how do you think COVID impacted or influenced the performance of gender in the online sphere? I mean, both of you discuss, like, for example, with Sir Mark, it's the digitized format of the Virgin Lab Fest, right? And also for Sir Carlo, of course, it's an online culture, right? This alter culture. So do you think that there is a difference from then to now, that during the pandemic? Why do you think so? If yes, if not, then why do you think so as well?
Sir Carlo first.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ignacio. Yeah, I think there's a big impact because everyone everyone during the pandemic, their focus is on online. Okay, they have enough time, no, to explore the online social media, especially the Twitter. Okay, so the pandemic has a big impact in expressing the. Of course, they need another outlet, no. They look the outer world is another outlet, no, to show who they are, to express what they feel, and of course, it is another form of performance, no, by expressing their desire to others. Yeah, that's my answer. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Sir Carlo. Sir Mark?
Yeah, I agree with Sir Carlo that the virtual space that has becoming now the performance venue, of theater and other performances that have ventured into virtual performance really affect the performance itself. Like what my study is, it focuses on the male character, and as the male character, it uses its body to uh uh to to present the character, and there's a lot of things that are going on, while you are performing, while the characters are performing. It has a different tension, when you are performing live before a live audience, because the space is different, in the same way that there would be a different tension, like right now, I've experienced presenting paper live, in front of an audience, and presenting paper in a virtual conference. There's a different feel. There's a different feel. There are several factors that could really affect the performer, and I think, for one thing, also I was reviewing the works of Pavis, mentioning vectorization. He mentioned that there's a lot of layers that is happening in a live performance, and also it has also a different thing that is going on during a virtual performance. But whatever the case is, whatever space that you are using, it really affect your performance as an actor or as a performer.
All
Thank
right. Thank you. Thank you, Sir Mark. All right. So maybe we can have our last two questions because we have a few minutes left, right? So for the next question, this is for Sir Carlo. Okay. So, for altar practitioners, okay, there's this current concern now or issue now. Of course, in Twitter, for example, this is very legal, right? But then there are other websites or social media accounts like Instagram, for example, who shut down these altar accounts and these profiles. Okay, and there are these altar practitioners who also um, who feel that they are silenced by these websites. So what do you think about that? And then they're actively talking about it, right? Like it's we should. They said that we should be able to express our gender and our sexuality, right? Yeah. So what do you think about that, Sir Carlo?
Actually, if they suspended your account, create again.
Yes, that's what they do.
Yeah, that's the easiest way. For example, there's an account in Twitter. The Twitter admin suspended the account, no, but he created another account, no, for his followers because actually the outer world is not only a community of expressing yourself. It's also a business, no? Because they're selling different videos. They're selling nude photos, no? It's a big community. You cannot stop them. If you suspended their account, they will create another account, no? They're like grass, no? When you pick them, they will grow again. So I think you cannot stop, no, the outer account. You cannot stop the outer world because if there's a space in social media or other online platform, there will always be participant, followers, or an outer community.
Thank you, Sir Carlo. I think we have here a question from Ma'am Tapati Gupta. Okay, so I think this is for both, or is this for Sir Mark? How does the changed conception of masculinity affect post-pandemic performance? I think this is this for Sir Mark? I think this is for Sir Mark, right? Or Sir Carlo can also, if Sir Carlo has comment.
I honestly, I don't have the information right now because my paper is trimmed down to uh, during the during the pandemic. So I don't know how it is going to manifest, no, in the progress of my study, and I hope to see also a silver lining on this, no, when I conduct my study, and how some gray areas, no, in masculinity could be revealed in the study at the time of the post pandemic. Because for one thing, that's one thing that I also anticipated, but honestly, I don't know how am I going to include that in the paper yet. Hopefully, I get to include that as I progress in the study. Thank you.
May I suggest something? I mean, during the lockdown, there may have been more equality between the genders because both the male and the female had to share the housework and look after the children. So maybe gender became more flexible, or it could also be something else that there may have been exceptions among males, as it happened in India also, because there would be quarrels between husband and wife because the husband refused to share the housework. So there you have another perspective. Otherwise, on the whole, men had to give up some of the conventional ideas of masculinity and help in the housework. So this is a practical aspect of the lockdown and the effect of the lockdown on gender relations, maybe. Maybe. I don't know why my image is coming double.
Ma'am, I think it is the monitor screen. There, the third screen. Yes, there. All right. So maybe we can have our last question. I guess this is for both our presenters. So recently, there is this issue of a commodification of gender, wherein a lot of entertainment artifacts, for example, like movies, etc., they use gender as a clutch for them to earn money, right? So there's this commodification of gender happening, okay, that they, for the money, they will sell sexuality and gender. And do you think that for your study, like in the alter culture, or in this case, the use of masculinities and these portrayals in the Virgin Lab Fest, do you think that there's also this commodification of gender happening in your own artifacts also that you are studying?
Sir Mark first.
Okay, gumanti ka, sir. I agree. Yes, there's a lot of business going on using gender, using male body, nude photos of good-looking men, on different websites, it's but it's not, of course, limited to men. That includes all gender, I suppose. There's, I think there's less argument on that these things are really happening, from where we are and at this time, because and also because they found a new medium on how they could, really market whatever they are going to or intend to market. And I think uh I I was thinking of the good side of it, but honestly, I could not just think of anything right now. uh um I hope the future studies would find some light in this also, yung commodification of gender and sexuality in the net, other than doing business, so I hope that there would be a lot of researchers that would really dive into the matter and look on how this is going to help us in the future.
Right. Thank you, Sir Mark. Sir Carlo, do you have anything to add?
I think I have two reactions, no, regarding that. No,
Yes.
it's okay for me uh, to sell a video if the performer had the consent, no, to sell it. Okay, but if the performer did not give his consent, that is another issue. Okay, because in outer world you need to respect the privacy. You need to respect your group. Actually, in gay society, there's different types of clan, no. Like what I said in what by a performance in Monoblog, there's a Bear Clan, there's a Twink. Bear Clan are the big guys. Twink are the thin guys, no? And
Yeah,
then
I've heard of that.
so different types. Prepare back to that question, no? It depends, no? It depends on the performer if he wants to sell his video or not, no? It's a matter of respect, no? Ask first, no, before you sell it. Um, Another example is a performance in a gay bar, no? Here in the Philippines, we call it macho dancing. No? Of course, there's a performance area in the stage, but during the pandemic, there's an online gay bar. Okay, macho dancing. No, so they transfer all the performances in the video, no, in a live performance through a Zoom account or a private account. And then actually after that performance, there's another performance. Okay? Before the administrator assign you to that breakout room, you need to pay another amount, no? And for example, on the main performance, you will pay 1,000 pesos. On the another breakout room, you will pay 2,000 pesos. Okay? So on that another breakout room, there will be a private performance that they will strip all their clothes, and then they will do this. I'm sorry for the no, it's okay. Masturbation, no, or other sexual movement. Okay, to tease the audience, and then there's a host in the performance, but hiding at the back of the camera, and then he will tell, "Okay, Sir Mark, do you want do you want to see his penis with this chocolate? Okay, please give him 1,000 pesos or 3,000 pesos to show his thing." So this marketer he's selling his performer, no, by giving little bit performances. And actually, for example, in a Zoom room, you have 100 participants, and then the ticket price is 300 or sometimes 500. So 500 times 100 participants, that's big money, you know. So and another thing, actually, before the pandemic or pre-pandemic, there is what do you call this? Set up, no, a small group orgy orgy scene or orgy performances, no? So you will go to that hotel or a condo, and then there's a 5 or 10 participants. It depends on the space. So of course you will earn 10 money from the 10 people, but in Zoom you will earn a lot, no? So big money in an online platform and easy access. So I think during pandemic, this kind of business is a booming business, I think. Yeah, because they continue and they have their they curate the performances. Yeah, so I think there's a big money here. Big money involved.
Thank you, Sir Carlo. Yeah. And I think it's very important that Sir Carlo mentioned this idea of consent, right? As long as there is consent between and among the people involved, that's very, very important, because I think this is also an issue that is happening in the Western part of the world. Their alter culture, sometimes they post videos without the consent of the other person, or whatsoever, and then they sell it or whatsoever, right? So consent is very important. All right. So with that, okay, we would like to thank our presenters for their very insightful examinations and analysis. So we would like to award the following certificates to our presenters. Right. So first of all, okay, the University of the Philippines Diliman College of Arts and Letters. As panel presenter during the Gendered Online Performance panel of the Asian Theater Working Group, IFTR, and 14th Annual Meeting and International Conference towards a post-COVID-19 towards a post-COVID-19 Asian theaters, given this March 4th to 2022 at the University of the Philippines Diliman, signed Sir Anriel P. Tiatco and Sir Eric V. De La Cruz. Thank you, sir, so much, Sir Carlo. And now we would also like to award our next certificate. Right. Okay. Again, the University of the Philippines Diliman College of Arts and Letters through the DSCTA and the Asian Theater Working Group International Federation for Theater Research award the Certificate of Appreciation to Sir Mark Ansay Ignacio for presenting the paper titled Men at Play, Staging Masculinity at the Time of COVID as panel presenter during the Gendered Online Performances panel of the Asian Theater Working Group IFTR 14th Annual Meeting and International Conference towards a post-COVID-19 Asian theaters, given this 4th of March 2022 at the University of the Philippines Diliman, signed Sir Anriel P. Tiatco and Sir Eric V. De La Cruz. Thank you so much, Sir Mark. Right. All right. So with that, I would also like to remind everyone that the evaluation form link is provided through our chat box. And do not forget to input your session code FSSF3E for panel 3E Gendered Online Performances. Again, for our panel, which is 3E Gendered Online Performances, our session code is FSSF3E. Right. So also we would like to invite everyone and remind everyone that the closing keynote and closing program will be at 2 p.m. Delhi time, 4:30 p.m. Manila time, 5:30 p.m. Tokyo, and 7:30 p.m. Sydney time. So with that, in behalf of the DSCTA and the Asian Theater Working Group International Federation for Theater Research, we thank you for your participation in this panel. To our presenters, Sir Carlo Pagonaling and Sir Mark Ignacio, thank you very much. Okay, and to everyone who joined this panel, thank you. Once again, I am Sherry Claire Ponce, your moderator for panel 3E Gendered Online Performances. Goodbye.
Mag-break ka nga na.